Happy Wednesday! Kara and I are back again with our Coffee Talk with an SLP series that we're doing at the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that we have 8 days left in the month of May, and for all those 8 days, we get matched dollar for dollar for every donation that we get. Through very generous donors, the Light Foundation and the Missouri DeMolay. We're going to add a link at the bottom of this video after we're done today, so you can follow that link and make a donation.
Yes, thank you to the Light Foundation and Missouri DeMolay. Also, if you would like a notification that we are going live, there's a little button, I think it might be in, I don't know which corner it's in, but it says get notifications of when the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic is live. So as we continue, hello, someone joined us. As we continue to post different topics and things that hopefully are helpful to you, then you can get notifications about that.
So today we're talking about beginning sign language. For those of you families that come to the clinic, you may see some of us therapists use some simple sign language in our therapy sessions. So we are going to talk a little bit about the benefits of using beginning sign language and how you can implement that at home. And then we're going to share some resources with you in case you want to explore this further. Hi Sharon, thanks for joining us. So getting started, what are some of the benefits of using beginning sign language with your child? First off, it can help reduce your child's frustration. If they can't verbalize what they want, you can teach them simple signs that they can use with their hands, sign language like more. We'll get to that in a little bit. But it can help decrease frustration and help keep them motivated to communicate with you.
And just a little clarification too, we use sign language with children who are delayed talkers or who are not very verbal or not verbal at all, because for all these reasons that we're mentioning. So another reason is that it just really builds vocabulary. It gives them a symbol or a way to communicate that and learn that word for the objects or actions or things in their life and that are important to them. So you can really help build a child's vocabulary to use sign language with a word.
It can also help increase social skills. So if your child is now using some beginning sign language, they're going to be able to increase the amount of people that they can communicate with and the amount of things that they can say. So this is going to directly improve their social interpersonal skills. It's going to allow them to participate in communication with their siblings. So maybe they will no longer be left out if they want to play too. They can now communicate that, maybe not verbally, but with a few signs that they now know.
Another thing that we know is that research says that sign language before using sign language before words can actually increase a child's literacy skills. So once they are, using those signs and then starting to develop those words, even they're just understanding all of those that basic knowledge that can prepare them for lifelong literacy and reading skills. So that's another benefit of using some sign language early on.
One bonus from using early sign language is that it can help increase fine motor development. So if your child is using their hands, they have to use their hand-eye coordination to produce the signs in order to communicate. And we know that a motor act may be easier than saying a word for a very young child. It may be easier for them to visually see that they're putting their hands together to produce a word. Rather than not having that visual input of seeing their mouth as they are trying to talk.
Another benefit is that it can increase a child's length of utterance. So for example, using a sign could help a child transition. Maybe they are using one word, maybe they really like cookies and they can say cookie, but they haven't yet said please. So if they're also pairing the sign with the language, they might say cookie and then the sign for please, and then they're actually expanding how many words they're using. It might not be a word, but we know that we know what they're saying. So that's just another representation of a word for them, and that can eventually increase that length of those sentences and things.
One of the questions I often hear from parents is, and Kara, I'll ask you, but I want my child to talk, so why would I be teaching them sign?
Absolutely. I get that question all the time with screenings and young children who are not talking. And I always tell those families, I agree with you. The end goal is that we want your child to be communicating. But why not, for all of these reasons we just mentioned, it will decrease their frustration. We know that it's easier to do a motor act than it is to do a word. Why not always allow them to use a sign to communicate that to you and then make their wants and needs known so that then you can continue on with that interaction. The other piece about it is that we always use the sign paired with the verbal language. So you're teaching your child the word for that and the sign, and they are eventually going to hopefully pick up that word paired with the sign. But great question. So I think it's time for us to show you some of our signs that we do typically.
So Kara and I just kind of ran down a general list of some of the most frequently used signs that we might use in our therapy sessions, or that we might see more frequently when we're working with families. If you're joining us, I see we have 5 people join us. That's awesome. If you have any questions about certain words that you want to know, how to sign, please type them in, and we
can look them up, or if we know them, we'll share them with you.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk through that. I'm going to get started, though. Some of the words we use in therapy, we use a lot of books. So if you're going to do the sign book. Another good one is sleep. If you want to teach your child how to communicate that they're tired, that they want to go to sleep. If your child is a milk drinker, milk. It's like you're squeezing a cow. It's milk. And then open and close. I'm going to teach this one at the same time. If you're going to teach your child how to use sign for open and close, I'll start with open and then close. It's kind of like a window. Open and close. And then more is probably the word we use the most often in therapy. It's just 2 hands together, more. That's usually the one I start with. And then please is pretty simple. Please. You just take your hand and move it up on your chest. Please.
And the other thing that I always mention to parents when I talk about sign language is that sometimes there can be variations. For example, Ellie was signing open, or no, not open, it was sleep. And I tend to just kind of make up my own sign and do sleep. So if your child does that and does something else as a gesture that's like a sign, and that is how they communicate it, then go with it by all means. Because the point is that we're reducing the frustration and trying to encourage their communication with this alternative method. So if they kind of do it a little bit differently, for example, my son at home, he goes like this for more because he's just not ready to do this, but I know that he really wants more to eat. So again, you can kind of adjust and do what they do and follow their lead with that. Some other really functional signs that we do is, thank you. It's just literally, kind of touching your chin and moving your hand forward, or that's also the same sign for you're welcome. So if a child would sign that to you, then you know how to sign it back to them. You're welcome. Another one would be if they need to say sorry, which is really hard for a lot of kids to say just in general because sometimes they don't want to. But if they ever need to say sorry, that's the sign for sorry. If they want to tell you that it's their turn, or they want something, they might say me or my, or even just the one hand, my or my turn. Another one that's really helpful is if they need to go to the potty or to the bathroom. It's just the thumb in between, and you kind of shake the hands back and forth. It can be really discreet too, like I need to go potty. If your food is a really good motivator, so you can talk about if the child wants to eat, they might just be able to tell you they want to eat some food or eat a snack. If you're all finished, again with whatever you're doing, you just you can wave your hands back and forth or do like this, all done. A couple variations of that one I've seen. Again, drink. I typically just pretend like I'm holding a cup and drink. I've also seen people do the thumb, drink like that. And then help. That's a really functional one. If your child needs help with something, it's kind of a funky looking sign, but again, I've seen kids that just, they move their hands upward, they're trying. Again, if they try it and it's just not quite right, but you see them attempt that after you've tried to model it for them, then go with it, because that's just decreasing that frustration. So, The other thing we were going to just mention too is a couple more resources aside from this video and a few really functional signs. There is a website. If you just Google ASL browser. We kind of didn't talk about how there's different kinds of sign language a little bit. There's American Sign Language, which is ASL. There's Signing Exact English, those things. But if you Google the ASL browser, we'll put this in the links below, it'll bring up a link to a website, and it's through a university in Michigan, but it has videos of almost any sign that you would want to know, and it's all alphabetically listed, and you can search. So if you have a word and you want to teach that sign to your child, you can search for this ASL browser and then watch a video of how to do that sign.
There's also 2 apps that we're going to recommend. One is free, one is not. I can't remember which one, but you can search for it on your phone. One is called Baby Signs ASL. There's another one called Signing Time ASL. And those you can use. They have simple signs that you can use with your kid. I was also going to say, if you have a child that is in an early childhood center or a preschool and you're thinking maybe these beginning signs might be helpful for my child in their education center, we would be more than happy to share some resources with you if you'd like to talk through how to incorporate sign in their classroom. I've personally seen a lot of decrease in frustration and negative behaviors in classroom with teachers who are using gestures and signs in addition to their language. So if that's something that you are thinking, hey, that might really benefit my child in the educational setting, let us know, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we'll put all the links to everything in the comments below, but if anyone has any questions when you're watching this video, and, you know, like Ellie said, just go ahead and put it right on there, and we will get back to you about that as best we can.
Yep.
So I think next week our topic will be, we're going to talk about our favorite toys for speech and language therapy. So tune in next week if you have a chance. And otherwise, is that everything?
That's everything.
Okay, thank you
guys.
everybody. Have a good
Bye.
Wednesday.